Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. This is Tarot Tip number 43, and today I'd like to talk about you. I would like for you to be thinking about you and the qualities that you bring to your study of the tarot. Now, this is more geared for people who are going to be working with other people, whether it's your friends, whether you're going to take money or not, that isn't really the point. And I think some of this does qualify as qualities if you're just going to be using the cards for your own use and your own benefit. But I'd like to talk about four specific qualities that I want you to think about whether you could see these as relevant to your work with the tarot. And they do go beyond book learning. So aside from knowing the facts about the tarot cards, what the cards mean and what the suits mean and what the numbers mean and all of that, aside from that, I want you to think about these four qualities and think about the degree to which you might have these qualities and how they might help you or be useful in your role as a tarot reader or a student of the tarot. I think one of the first things that drew me to work with the tarot is the fact that if I think about my life as a whole, I've always been the person who people would come to when they had a problem. Whether I'm talking about being in middle school or being in college or being an adult. If you're the person who people like to talk to, if you're the person who's a good listener, I think being a good listener is a very good quality for a tarot reader. If you're somebody with whom people are comfortable talking, spilling their guts, opening up to, if you're the kind of person who people are comfortable with in that situation, that's a really good score on the tarot reader side of things. Being a good listener, being able to witness without judgment what's going on for another person. A skill as a good listener is really underrated, but it's also very useful in terms of reading tarot. One of the real common reasons that people pick up a tarot deck or learn tarot or work with tarot is that it's an avenue for intuition. Now some of these things are going to overlap a little bit that I'm going to talk about today, but in terms of intuition, I'm talking about really getting hits, getting direct hits that aren't necessarily a result of a conversation with somebody else, but being able to receive information from an unknown source. That's one way I like to think of intuition. I also like to think of intuition in terms of the energy, is that if we think of the nature of reality in terms of particles and space, that particles are the perceivable and that intuition lives in the space between the particles. So I think that there's some natural accessibility to intuition that all of us have, but that some of us are more adept at utilizing. So as an avenue for intuition, if you're an intuitive person, if you're somebody who's comfortable knowing without knowing how you know, tarot's going to be a great avenue for you. Let's take something that maybe is not really as connected to metaphysics or anything that's oracle in nature, and this is the element of compassion. If you're somebody who really cares about other people genuinely in your heart, if you're somebody who wants to help, if you're somebody who wants to provide an avenue for people to find their way, this is a very useful, I don't want to call it a skill, but a very useful quality for a tarot reader, to have genuine compassion. I took a couple of years of counselor training in a methodology called psychosynthesis. It's not really as complicated as it sounds, but it's based on the idea that our psyche, our essence really is crying out for its wholeness. And one of the there's lots of methodologies there, like any counseling or therapeutic practice. There's lots of approaches to how to deal with things that people might come into the session with. But when it's all said and done, and I wrote this in large letters in my margins when I was taking this psychosynthesis training, was something that one of the trainers admitted, and her words were, "It's really the love that heals." You can use any methodology you want. It isn't that one thing is better or more important than another. Somebody might argue with that point, but I liked her notion and admittance of the fact that it's the love that heals. It's the true compassion and the true caring. And this is going to connect to this idea of listening, but still this piece that I'm talking about is the heart. Is I'm kind of naturally and automatically, subconsciously putting my hand here, because this is where I'm talking about this. Your heart goes out to somebody. Your heart is open to the experience of another person. So this idea that that the cards are a vehicle for love to be transmitted, that's a really nice thing. People might not know that that's what they're signing up for when they call you for a tarot reading, but if that happens, that's a wonderful thing. The fourth quality, or the fourth aspect, is if you are insightful. And this is sort of connected to the intuitive idea. It's sort of connected to the idea of listening. But a person who's insightful can see behind what's on the surface. A person who's insightful can understand what's really going on despite the words that are used, despite the mechanisms that might be in place. Somebody who's insightful can kind of get to the bottom line pretty quickly and be discerning about things and not be not dissuaded, but distracted by the yak on the surface. An insightful person is aware of what's really going on, and I think that's a very obvious, has obvious implications or applications for somebody who's reading tarot. So aside from book learning, being a good listener, using your intuition, having genuine compassion for yourself or the person you're sitting across from, and using your discernment and your insight to be able to cut through what's not real into what is really going on. These are wonderful qualities. So think about what it is that you bring to your tarot learning and or your tarot practice, in addition to your ability to react and know what the cards mean. What else is going on for you that's a part of your gift, your skill, and your connection to the cards? This is a wonderful way to develop your own, what I like to call, working relationship with your cards. So I hope that's helpful. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.